I'll tell you, we are live. Oh my God, I'm so excited to have my friend on, talented, international, global music star and talent. Dar.Ra is on the show. Dar.Ra is on the show. Say it for them. Give them the whole story on that in a minute. We're going to talk about Healing of the Nations. He's going to perform live. He does so much great work with music to heal. Music and healing is the theme, really, today. And so we're going to talk all about that. And he's coming to us all the way from Alabama.
I wish. We're
south of my friend.
we're south of London. I haven't actually been to Alabama, so I don't know how good it is and how, I don't know. I'd have to sort of reserve judgment, but no, we're coming from just south of London, about half an hour south of London, in the sort of sticks out in the country. So it's very nice. It's very quiet. We've got a few.
What time is it there? About 8 o'clock?
Yeah. I mean, we've got a few interesting neighbours. We've got Paul McCartney just down the road, so he's quite cool. Pops in for a cup of tea every now and then. You got Keith Richards. He's got a place not far from here. Mark Knopfler's just up the road. So yeah, there's quite a lot of rock royalty. The Beatles manager used to have a place just up the road in Rushlake Green. There's a lot of history kind of here. You had Brian Jones had a place in Hatfield. Winnie the Pooh's old house. Do you remember A.A. Milne, who wrote Winnie the Pooh? And
yes, absolutely.
So that's just literally just a stone's throw from where we are. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I think they also had a place not far from here as well.
Wow, you're in the middle of History Central right there.
So it's a good spot to be. It's, I think, a lot of the rock kind of like people who made a lot of money in the 60s basically came down here. Tom Jones had a place with Engelbert Humperdinck. How about that? They had a
who remembers that name? You can't forget that name.
Well, they had a bachelor's pad in a place called Burwash. Do you know what I mean? And it's not far away from here at all. So there's a lot of rock and roll history kind of out about. But yeah, Paul's he's got a massive studio just down the road.
I love that. So now that we know who you know, tell us who you are.
So mine, obviously, Dar.Ra. I've been on the show before. Musician and author. And all, just basically holding in the game, and just trying to keep kind of positivity kind of going. I run my own label, Kusha Deep Music. I've been signed to various different major labels over the years. I've toured the world a few times. I've been to America a couple of times and played in Seattle and also down in Atlanta. I've done some mad gigs down in Guatemala. I've played in Mexico, in southern Mexico, which is quite.
You've played everywhere.
I've also played out in Australia. I lived in Australia for 4 or 5 years. I worked for a couple of major labels in Sydney. Played at the Mardi Gras. Where else? And just all in all,
so
just
describe your music. Describe your music to them. Tell them a little bit about that, because I think you take a very holistic approach. That's probably a crazy word, but music is healing, and you really do incorporate that in everything you do. So tell them a little bit about your musical journey.
Yeah, you know what? I started off very young, kind of like my mum was a musician. She kind of had a musical side of things, and there was always an upright piano in the house. And she just, I just used to watch her playing 12-bar boogie woogie, and I just thought, how do you do that? Because she had this left hand that was just, playing all that stuff. And although she was sort of like, made to kind of do the classical thing, she was really into her kind of like jazz and blues. And so, yeah, she kind of encouraged me at an early age. And then I got involved in bands, playing in kind of different styles, kind of started off with kind of reggae bands, like supporting some big acts over here, like Steel Pulse and Misty and Roots.
Nice.
And being a support act kind of like for some big major headliners. And then house music kind of broke over here, and we started getting into that. And then I got signed to EMI, making sort of like garage house records for them. Had a couple of hits. Went down to Australia, sort of like, mid to tail end of the 90s. Ended up working down there for a little bit, doing lots of production work. Remixed Tears for Fears and Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and Tears for Fears. We did Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Tears for Fears, and a few of their bands like Savage Garden.
Those are my era.
Yeah, well, they were sort of like, still kind of busting around. They want, getting those kind of Listen, when I was at Chrysalis, I met Debbie Harry, and she was the coolest woman I'd ever met.
Amazing.
I almost fell at her feet. It's like, oh my God, I'm not ready. But
Well, it is Deborah Harry, man. She's amazing.
Yeah, she is, and groundbreaking woman in terms of sort of, you know, great, you know, bringing genre, you know. So we come back to myself, you know, coming back to the music that I've done. It's always very been hybrid, just like, you know, you talk about some of those people. It's just hybrids of things that I hear, pull out of the ether from here and pull out of the ether from there. But I, you know, so mixing genres and styles, but always with a view to kind of like, you know, uplifting people rather than, you know, wallowing in the self-pity and the, you know, that some sort of like music can do. I've always wanted my material to have an uplifting coda, shall we say, to the.
Is that where the title of the show came in? Talk about healing of the nations. I'm fascinated.
Well, you know, I just, you know, music I'd say for the 21st century, I think in some ways it's been kind of like, you know, unappreciated to the fact that it's become so on tap. It's like water, and people, I don't think until we've gone through what we've gone through, realize just how powerful music is to getting us through situations in our life, you know. So I've always known that frequencies have been, you know, a part of, you know, ancient philosophies and practices, you know, for centuries, go back previously to even the Egyptians. You know, they knew what tones kind of worked in terms of like to heal, you know, and understood frequencies. So even just like certain bowls are attuned to certain frequencies in order to create certain healing within ourselves. So when you hear people like using gongs and that's all about kind of like healing the kind of internal chakra system, obviously from base to crown. And so I kind of always knew about that just from luckily hanging out with some pretty cool people at a young age. And then just developing kind of, you know, a musical style with kind of that premise of uplifting people's energies. I didn't see the point in making records that didn't leave you feeling kind of at least, you know, that it was worth listening to, and it took you on a journey. So I've always been like that. And then I was lucky enough in 2002 to make a record with a guy called Orlando Allen, and his father was a very famous rock musician from a band called Gong, and they were huge in Europe. The very first psychedelic band. They were the first band to sign to Virgin Records before Tubular Bells, Mike Oldfield. David Allen, his father, had toured with Jimi Hendrix with Soft Machine in 1967. So these were real solid cats. Do you know what I mean? Like, to actually be in the presence of these guys, what I felt was it was an honor. And they have a, I mean, sadly, they've passed over now, you know what I mean? So, that makes it even more of an honor because they had such an incredible work ethic, that generation, you know. They were constantly about what can we create, what can we do next? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
What we've been there, now where are we going? And I was very inspired by Gilly Smythe, who was also David's kind of like a wife stroke lover, you know, and they just had this amazing maverick kind of lifestyle. And by the time they were still touring in their sort of mid-70s, you know, like, you know, all around the world. You know, so, but they're working. So I was working with Orlando Allen. We had this brief to make a record that again was very focused on frequencies, and we were doing it for a Kundalini workshop. Now, if you know anything about Kundalini, it's all about kind of energy that's based in the spine, and the Indian sort of like sages knew how to kind of raise that energy through using frequencies now, and also using breath work, you know. So we did a bit of research with this lady who was doing these workshops, and I went in and I you know, I kind of I didn't think it wasn't going to work out the way, you know, I had no expectations, but I went to this workshop and it was like a 5-hour, 6-hour workshop, you know what I mean, where people, it's like ecstatic dancing. I'm sure you come across it, but you're breathing kind of like to certain frequencies, and you're working certain kind of, you know, certain areas of your chakra points. And you know, after 5 or 6 hours, you come out and you're just flying. Do you know what I mean? And for the first time, I thought, wow, the whole premise was like, could you get high without taking drugs? right? So that was where we went into it. And the answer is abso-bloody-lutely. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to kind of use anything to get yourself, you know, transcending out of your kind of everyday three-dimensional, third-dimensional realities. So using music, you know, people would use music to kind of get themselves kind of like out of their situations.
You were just doing a, what did you say before we went live? You popped in because you were working with dementia patients, no?
Yeah, I've just done a 2-hour workshop with in a dementia care home where I do a music workshop. So I play like it's basically using music and kind of like memory games to kind of get the cognitive side of things going. So I will play a classic Elvis track or whatever, and then I'll ask certain questions. I say, so does anyone remember where they were when they first heard that song? And someone will go, oh, I was in my kitchen. So I've got a nugget then, and I can then go, so what did the kitchen look like? And they go, oh, it was like, you know, whatever. I said, so where were you standing in the kitchen when you heard that song? I was looking out the window. And what was happening outside the window? Oh, it was my garden. So you see what's happening. You're kind of opening up this whole chasm of memories. And when you do that, see, a lot of these people are just stuck in front of televisions rotting away. But when you start digging in to where they're at, the nuggets that come out are quite mind-blowing. So, for instance, like there was this wonderful woman who's not with us now, but I was playing Delilah, which was a classic kind of Tom Jones tune, which they seem to absolutely love.
I love that song.
You know what I mean? I saw the light on a night and I looked out my window. So I'll be doing all that. Do you know what I mean? And I said to her, does anyone remember where they were when they first heard this tune? So this lovely lady popped up. She said, I was driving from Rome to Monte Cassino. And I said, oh, so what were you doing? She said, well, my husband was fighting the Germans at Monte Cassino. So they wanted to retract this kind of event because it was a massive battle. If anyone knows anything about that battle, the Americans are basically, with the British, the Americans basically said, you take care of that mountain. And this mountain was unpenetrable, right? And the Americans just flicked off up to Rome and left the British to deal with this big old battle. I mean, you know, it was no joke. It was massive. But anyway, this guy was there, and he met, you know, Sergeant Bilko. He was there doing like entertainment for the troops. Frank Sinatra was doing a routine. Bob Hope, all that kind of malarkey. You know what I mean? So here's the nugget. So by asking one question, I get this whole thing that she had this experience. And then it turned out she'd moved to Harlem in the 50s and saw Nat King Cole at the Apollo and all this kind of stuff. So do you see what I'm saying? Now, if no one had asked those questions, she'd be staring.
It would still be stuck in there. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So music, again, in a different kind of way, is bringing memories to the forefront, and you just never know what you're going to get. So, you know, it's using, again, music in different ways has so much power in our everyday lives. And I think that if you look kind of like deeper into it, you'll realize that it's frequencies and vibration, which is really, really kind of like, it's so important. Everything is frequency and vibration. When you feel something good, it's either a good vibration because you're picking up on something good, or you know, your intuition tells you something's not right. So vibration is everything. So music is doing that all the time. When you switch on the radio, you're either getting good vibes from it, or you're getting, you know, something that's not quite right for you. You know what I'm saying? But when you're sort of digging into the actual frequencies of these things, like for instance with this album we did, Breathe, we worked on, you know, different keys, different, you know, vibes, different breath work, all the way from the bass chakra all the way up to the crown, where we then got into sort of like Indian raga. You know, we had the sitar kind of thing going. We had the whole meditation thing. We had the tones. We went into the music of the spheres when we went to crown chakra, which was just like, you know, Tibetan monks chanting, and it's a great album.
So tell them you're going to perform. I'm sorry, we could talk for hours, you and me. I could listen to you for hours, but tell them, is the YouTube channel that's scrolling across the bottom the best way for them to find your music?
That's right, absolutely. You can check my stuff out. If you just put in my name, Dar.Ra, you'll be able to find out all the incriminating evidence.
We got all your links. We tag you. We know how to find you. All right, perform for us, my friend, or whatever you want to do. I got a
cool.
little snippet of it earlier, but I really, really want them to hear you.
Okay, cool. Well, we're going to do a little song. I'm going to do a little song called "Arise Like the Sun," which was actually the last single that I had out before. Arise like the sun and hold back for no one. Rise like the sun, shine every day of my life. It means something to someone. Alright. Alright now. I'm in and out my head, I'm trying to work it out, but I can't. I walk the city day and night to try to understand. Faces come and go, lights they blur the noise in my mind. I'm the only one that ever hears these screams inside. I've been crying. I've been down in the dirt and the dust, trying to sound up the band, dance like there's no tomorrow. If I live to tell the tale, I will kiss the dawn as it comes. Pray that rise like the sun, rise like the sun. All right. You think you got all the time in the world, then you get born. You think the world will understand, then you get broken. I've seen a million dreams twisted and left for dead. I'm the devil, buying every one of them. I've been down in the dirt and the dust. I'm trying to sound up the band, dance like there's no tomorrow. If I live to tell the tale, I will kiss the dawn as it comes. And pray that I rise like the sun, rise like the sun, rise like the sun, rise like the sun. Whoa, whoa. You know I got to rise like the sun.
I don't know if I love the guitar playing more or the vocals, but I absolutely loved that. You know, I've been in low frequency today, and I needed that. So how awesome!
Thank you very much. Ted, it's always a pleasure, man, to sort of to chat and sort of play some music.
Always.
And it's pretty raw. It's, you know, as I say, it's just a guitar and a vocal. I've got no mic set up here, so at the moment, so
it was so good. I loved it. I loved it, and I got energized, which I'm sure is part of the point. But
well, I think so. I think if you come and see me live, it really is kind of doing a little kind of waver upwards.
I mean, your live performance is amazing. A lot of people can't even do that recorded and filmed and edited. I think that's so awesome. No, I really feel good. All right, so tell them the best way to reach you. How can they get that song? How can they learn more about what you do and download your music? What's the best way?
So you know, that record is actually out with about 6 mixes that I did. So yeah, there's lots of different. There's a USA sort of sunshine mix. There's a Guatemalan sunshine mix. There's a real nice ambient Indonesian mix. So I kind of went with the sunshine theme. Do you know what I mean? That's the UK sunshine mix, if there is such a thing. So yeah, you can get it on Spotify if you just check Dar.Ra. Man, all my stuff will come up. And Rise Like the Sun is there. There's also sort of like quite a few. I mean, I've put 50 songs out this year. You know, from my back catalog.
Wow.
I've been really busy, kind of like I started off in February with Ballads for the Downtrodden, which was like all my kind of ballad songs, and there was like I think 12 songs there. Then I followed that up with Majestic Retrospectives 1, which was like the best of all my remixes from like 96 to 2008. Then I put out Kings and Serfs, which is like a 3-song EP, which was actually written for a film about the Pearly Kings and Queens of London. I put that out as well. That's just gone out, so that's my last kind of single. And then I'm just literally kind of doing Majestic Retrospectives Volume 2, which is 21 songs on that. And that's me cleaned. I've cleaned my vault outs, you know what I'm saying? So, but we're just mastering it up and getting that out as well. And then I have another EP basically ready for, I think it's going to be about July-ish, and I'm really stoked with this, man, because it's a cracking track. It's called No Time for Tears, and it's I think you're going to love it. It's kind of, again, sort of, if you heard Lights on New Kind of Normal album, you'll kind of know where I'm going. It's very kind of like melodic. I'm really stripping everything really back, so it's just like guitar, bass, drums, but the vocals are really kind of doing a lot of the movement. And it's not your classic, like, you know, or everyday kind of song arrangement. It really is moving in a quite epic kind of theatrical way. So I'm kind of moving in that direction, much more kind of like, you know, song space, kind of theatrical kind of flavors to it. I've always been pretty theatrical anyway, but
not you, my friend. I love what you're doing. Thank you for being on the show. If you guys aren't already engaged and amazed by this man's charisma and talent, then you got to go check him out some more. Look at the website that's scrolling across, which is a YouTube channel. You're amazing, buddy. Thank you so much, my friend, for being on the show. I appreciate you.
You know what? It's an absolute honor and pleasure, and thank you so much for the support that you give him. You know, obviously myself, I love just being able to stay in tune with you as well on like Insta, man. It's like, oh, Ted, I've got a new thing happening.
I know, I love it. I'm so happy for you. I get happy when I hear those. You bring so much love in the world. God bless you too, my friend. You guys go check him out. It's all scrolling there, and he's on all the social media platforms. Download the music, buy the music, support the artists. This talent is amazing, so why not capitalize on it and get some in your life? Thank you.